everyone. So jumping on real quick. Um, eh, I typically don't go on too much during the day, but I wanted to this time because, so interestingly enough, I had two patients, one a canine friend and a new patient that came in today. And I thought they were very, very interesting cases and actually quite sad too at the same time. So one of my one of my canine patients, yes, the four-legged, um, has been dealing with like low platelet counts. And when that happens, he gets pretty weak, and you could just tell that something's off and whatnot. And his owner, because I'm not a vet either, by the way, and I don't play one on TV. I just use quantum nutrition testing to assist, the animal or the person. And in this case, this poor dog was having like random issues, like between skin itching and skin irritation, and then low platelet counts and all these things. And when the platelet counts get really low and whatnot, then the vets are figuring it's an autoimmune issue, and they wind up putting him on steroids. And actually the steroids, temporarily help until they don't. Then he comes off of it, and then he winds up back on it again. Well, and this is where like people get a little bit confused with, holistic health, because, you give a medication and sometimes you see results pretty quickly. So you really think that the medication is actually helping. But what people don't realize is, when you come off the medication, after a while, the symptoms might return, or almost they return immediately. And so did that medication really get rid of the underlying cause of why that animal or that person really developed the symptoms? And the answer is no, because otherwise the symptoms wouldn't return. And healing can take time, and it can be a drawn out process. And sometimes it gets frustrating, waiting for the body to heal. And I don't blame patients at all, because it does get very frustrating. But one of the things that we have to remember is like, how long did it take us to get here? If you're 40 years old, let's say, and you've never like done a parasite cleanse, you've never done a heavy metal detox cleanse. And this is like the analogy that I give most of my patients. It's like, imagine like a bathtub. Okay, this is really gross, but imagine like a bathtub and like a shower, and it's been being used for the full 40 years, but you haven't cleaned it like in 40 years, and it's never been cleaned. Could you imagine like all the soap scum and the mildew and all that other just like residue that builds up like on the walls of the shower in the bathtub? And then imagine like, that your drains get clogged with like your hair, so imagine like the drain all clogged up. Imagine like all the soap scum like on the walls of the shower for 40 years. And you haven't like cleaned the bathtub in 40 years. Well, that's kind of like detoxing, right? So if I start like, scraping off, or if I even just like take like a regular, sponge or whatever and try to wash off the walls, it's probably not going to work so well, right? You're going to need to like throw like all the cleaning stuff at it, like the big super scrubber, like the power scrubber, maybe, like really good stuff to like unclog the drain, maybe even a plumber and all that other stuff. And that can turn around and take time. It's not just like a quick wash and, and you're done. So that's kind of like what happens with our bodies in true total healing, because we haven't truly taken care of it for quite some time. So it can take a while. And healing is like peeling layers of an onion. As layers start healing, new layers and new projects can show up. So with this dog, going back to the dog, so we've been working on this platelet thing for, for quite some time, and would have improvements. The skin would improve and things like that. And then he just had like another flare up of, low platelet count and things like that. Well, anyway, through muscle testing today, and I learned something new. Like, I love quantum nutrition testing and muscle testing because even as a family nurse practitioner, and even as, being in the Western medicine field for 20 plus years, like, I still learn something new because it's that darn accurate and it literally takes the guesswork out. So muscle testing this dog today, and specifically in regards to like what's causing, the blood issues that he's having, his thyroid comes up, and it's the priority. Now, in muscle testing, we call the priority like the problem child. It's the organ or the gland that's causing all the hiccups in the body. So instead of chasing like all the different symptoms or all the different organs that you're having issues with, we find out who's the culprit, who's the problem child. And then we find out like, well, what's causing that organ or gland to not function properly. And once we fix that, 9 out of 10 times, like, the rest of the body can start working normally. Okay. Because you're fixing the problem child. Well, in this case, and this was a new layer for this dog, the thyroid showed up. And I'm like, why is the thyroid showing up for like platelet, like for low platelets? So then of course I had to like look it up right away, because I was very interested. And so the interesting thing, and I just flipped screen. So if you're commenting or anything like that, I will answer your comments in just a quick second, or if you have any questions. However, so thyroid, now get a load of this. And there's a whole bunch of research articles on this, which is so interesting. I didn't even know this. Thyroid dysfunction significantly affects platelet count, with hypothyroidism often causing lower, sometimes higher, platelet counts depending on the underlying autoimmune mechanism. So yeah, who knew? Thyroid issues can cause low platelet counts. I had no idea, and that's why it literally takes the guesswork out. Like, I am so amazed, and I love muscle testing because I literally learn something new almost every single time I muscle test. And this is after being in the medical field since 2001. I'm still learning, and it is so amazing. And I don't now, not to sound goofy, but I wonder how many doctors or veterinarians or nurse practitioners would actually put 2 and 2 together, that the thyroid is actually causing the low platelet. Like, who thinks like that? And not only that, but like, his labs are normal. And that's why I love about this too, because it doesn't matter whether your labs are normal or not. It might not be normal for you. And that's why I like muscle testing as well, because we're not comparing you to everybody else. We're comparing you to you. Right? And blood work compares you to everybody else. So this makes like a huge difference, because I'm sorry, but my body's unique. I don't want to be compared to, no offense, Joe Schmo, but Joe Schmo down the street. Because what's normal for that person might not be normal for me. And so that's where like muscle testing gets really kind of fun, because again, it's so individualized. So I'm really excited about this like newfound discovery, through muscle testing. And this is the new layer that hit. And what's kind of cool is that this dog's body is dictating, hey, what am I ready to work on? What can I work on now? So I'm not just guessing or thinking, oh, let's try this and let's do this first. His body is literally dictating what it wants to work on, when it wants to work on, and what it's ready to work on. Those are all key factors in true healing. It might not be right. You might want something different, but your body might need something different before we can handle really what's causing your issues. I don't know if that makes sense. So what you want, so for instance, like somebody is really ready for like let's just take psoriasis and eczema. And they're just like, okay, let's work on my skin. And your body's like, no, we need to handle X, Y, and Z first before we can work on the skin. It's like building and laying the foundation for healing to take place. And your body literally, it's like a roadmap. Your body literally lets us know through muscle testing what it's ready to work on and when it's ready to work on. So that way your healing journey can be true successful. So, and then I had another patient, and this breaks my heart. So, how many of you guys have been out there and you've gone to all the doctors and you've done all the testing and you feel like you're not being heard? Or you feel like you get dismissed, or even worse yet, the doctors are kind of like not nice to you. Well, that's what one of my patients today experienced. So, new patient, never the first time meeting this patient, I'm listening to her story, and I just like literally wanted to weep and cry, because she has all these symptoms. And of course, the doctors are chucking everything up. Well, your labs are normal, this and that, your scans are normal. So what would you like? Literally, they asked, what would you like, another antibiotic? Like in that, and you can just imagine, like, in the way this patient portrayed it, you can imagine like the tone of the voice of the doctor, like completely dismissing, that this patient has real symptoms. And just because the symptoms aren't being seen or because you have normal labs, again, doesn't mean it's normal for you. And it's really, truly sad because, sometimes patients just don't feel heard. And then they start even questioning, like, am I going nuts? And then they start losing hope because, your labs are normal. You did like all the CAT scans, you did the ultrasounds, and you've done all the things, and they're all normal. And then where do you go? And, the sad part is like, so, and this person, this particular person also has like some teeth issues going on. And she's literally thinking that her teeth could be part of the internal issues going on. Guess what? She's not necessarily wrong either. Even though the dentist and some of the doctors are looking at her, she's got like 5 heads coming out of her neck. One of the things that I want to show you is, like, in quantum nutrition testing, we have what's called the tooth chart. And every single tooth is associated with different organs, different glands, and different symptoms. So when we do quantum nutrition testing, we don't just look at, like, everything is connected, guys. Like, your body is a house. And when one part, Western medicine compartmentalizes, am I saying that right? It just looks at like things are, separate, that things, cannot, how could that possibly connected? In Eastern medicine, everything is looked at as a whole. And one thing can absolutely affect another thing. Your body is a whole unit and needs everything to function optimally. So, and a lot of times you can have multiple things causing your symptoms. And again, these things are missed by, well, like, what doctor, what Western, or even what Western dentist will actually look at a tooth chart like this from Eastern medicine and say, oh, let me, because I don't have this memorized. Again, I'm not a dentist. But like tooth number 14 can be associated with migraines, lung and large intestine issues, and cause like sinus issues and connective tissue issues and things like that in your eye. What doctor is going to look at that? And that tooth 11 can be causing sterility. So like infertility issues, impotence issues. So in guys, sex organ dysfunctions, it can affect the skeleton, feet, frontal sinus, ear, kidney, and bladder. There's no Western dentist or Western doctor that's going to look at that, but they'll sure damn give you a pill. Oh, you got a symptom. Oh, let's give you a pill. Heaven forbid that we look something beyond our box and our scope. I'm getting a little bit fired up because it's not fair to the patient. It's not fair to the patient to stay in a rigid box. It's just not. And just because you don't know of an answer doesn't mean that an answer is not out there. And I will be the first one to admit, I am a holistic practitioner. I'm a family nurse practitioner. Do I have all the freaking answers? Absolutely not. And I never will. I never will. And if any one doctor or any one practitioner says that they have all the answers, pardon my French, excuse me, they're full of shit. They are. Nobody has all the answers. You're not God. I'm not God. I beat myself up if I miss something, but I'm not perfect. You're not going to be perfect. We are all human. But I am not afraid to admit when I possibly am stumped on something, and I'm not afraid to reach out to other holistic practitioners and other colleagues to get an opinion on something. And just because it's not in my toolbox doesn't mean that an answer isn't out there. But heaven forbid that you talk to any Western practitioner. Oh, don't do that. Oh, that's not possible. Bull. And this is where I feel bad for patients, because then they're made to think that they're all goofy, that their issues are stuck in it's all mental, or they're making it up, or they're drug seeking. And that's not the case, or they're attention seeking. No, most of my patients come to me with real true symptoms, real true issues. And with muscle testing, the majority of the time, we're able to find out the underlying causes and help them significantly improve their life and get better. Not a placebo effect either. And not putting Band-Aids on them either. Like true root cause healing. And again, sometimes it takes multiple modalities. Sometimes you need chiropractic. Sometimes you need an acupuncturist. Sometimes you need a little bit of energy work. Sometimes you need all the above. So, and I felt really, really bad for this patient earlier today, because almost in tears, didn't know where else to go, went to the ER, like two or three different hospitals, by the way, and had all the tests done, and nobody could still figure out what was going on, and basically said, oh, you're looking for another antibiotic? No, she feels miserable and she's scared. But that's what Western medicine gives you. And I'm not saying that all Western medicine is bad. That's not what I'm saying, because shoot, when I was in my horseback riding accident, did I need to go into the ER? 100%. Did they help with my pain? Yeah, because I cracked all 12 ribs and I punctured a lung and I broke my clavicle and I couldn't breathe. So yeah, that was a perfect place to be at the hospital. But for things like this, not necessarily, and I think we sometimes go too fast into Western medicine before we give holistic health a try. So anyway, so that's my little spiel. And hopefully if you guys, feel like you're not being heard, you go seek help somewhere else, because your symptoms are that you have true symptoms, and you need to be validated. You need to be heard, and you need to find out the underlying cause of it. Don't just put Band-Aids on your symptoms. If you would possibly like more information on muscle testing, give us a call. 708-6